Hello and welcome to our 26th session, and in this session we are going to add an obstacle, add Rigidbody and collider to it, and then we are going to move this obstacle from right to left, and later on it is spanned repeatedly at a particular interval of time. Let us first launch Unity Hub. In Unity Hub, come to project and you can continue from the previous session project. If you doesn't have the previous session project, then no issues. You can click on new project. In the project name, I am now going to call this as Jumping Force 3, and in eUnity project, selecting Universal 3D SRP template, I am going to click on Create Project. As Unity starts getting loaded, you can come into your YouTube video page or in your e-learning page, and here if you come into description and click on more, you have been provided with a Patreon link. Click on this Patreon link, and once you come to this Junior Programmer Series Patreon link, if you scroll down, you have been provided with a file 26 Jump Gain Spanning Obstacle Start Unity package. Click on this to download it. Now once Unity is launched, on the right hand side come into this layout, see that you have selected Satvik layout, and if you doesn't have this layout is provided in the Patreon page. You can download it and you can load it using this load layout from file. Come to project panel and you does not need this readme file. Select it, come into inspector and click on remove readme asset, and in the confirmation box click proceed. Coming into project panel, come over asset, right click, choose import package, custom package. Now browse to the folder where you had downloaded your, select this 26 jump game spawning package which you just now downloaded, click on open. Now in the import Unity package dialog box, click on all and click on the import button. Once it is imported, open scenes and you have jumping game here. Double click to open this scene. In our previous session, we had set the jumping action of our player ready, and now we want some obstacle to come in his way. If you come into your project panel, open course library, and here you have a folder called obstacle, and if you open here, you have different types of obstacle. See, you have barrel 1, barrel 2, crate 1. You have different types of obstacles here. Barrier 2, barrier 1, barrier 3. Among all these barriers, I am going to select prop underscore barrier 3 and I am going to drag it from here into my hierarchy panel. And then I will come into the inspector, and in transform I am going to reset its position to 0, 0, 0. So my player and my obstacle are at the same place. With barrier selected, with alt and left click turn around, and I want this obstacle to move towards my player from his right hand side. So along the x axis I will move it back like this. So I will move it by a distance of 20 units. Now I select this prop underscore barrier 3, press F2, and I am now going to call this as obstacle. To make this obstacle move from right to left, I am going to make use of the script. I will come into project panel, close the course library. In the project panel, I will come into the scripts folder. I will open this. I will right click on the scripts folder, click on create, and I am going to create a new mono behavior script, and I am going to call this script MoveLeft. Wait for the script to get compiled. See that the public class name MoveLeft and your file name is the same. Then I am going to drag this MoveLeft script and attach it to my obstacle. So your obstacle has this MoveLeft script. Now this obstacle along with the script, we are going to convert it into another prefab. I will come into my asset, right click, and I will create a new folder, and I am going to call this as my prefabs, and I am now going to drag this obstacle from here into my prefab, and for create prefab or variant, click on original prefab. And the difference between original obstacle and this prefab is this prefab has MoveLeft script applied to it. Now I will come into the scripts folder, select this MoveLeft script, double click to launch it in Visual Studio Code. When you see this pop-up, click on yes, I trust the author, and now come into this MoveLeft.cs file. In the MoveLeft, I will come into the class and after the open flower bracket, I will press enter and I will add two forward slashes, create a variable to hold the speed of movement, and I am going to press enter and I will call public float and I will call this as speed. And I will set it to a value of 10f and I will end it with semicolon. I will come into update, and this time normally for any of this obstacle it will not have any force. Actually here the obstacle is not moving. Actually the player is moving. So I need not use now rigid body add force. I am going to use our old transform.translate to move it. In open close bracket I will end it with semicolon. Here inside this, in which direction it should move, I will call vector 3 period and I want it to move left, and I am going to multiply it by speed, and this we are going to multiply it by time dot delta time. This movement should happen every second and not every frame. I am going to go to file, save this file, come back to Unity, allow the script to compile, and once it is compiled, now if I play the game and check it, already I have attached the script, you can see the hurdle is moving. Stop the playback. Now here, as of now, if you see, it appears as though the hurdle is moving, but actually I want the player to move. I will drag this MoveLeft and I will attach it to this background component also. So background also I will add the same speed. And now if I click play, and if you see it in the game view, you can see both are moving now and it appears as though the player is moving. Now if I stop the playback and play it again, you can see the hurdle is moving through his body. If I stop the playback, see this hurdle is going through his body. This is not natural. This is because we haven't applied the natural physics rule to our obstacle. So if I now select the obstacle and if you come into the inspector, I have to add collider. So I will come into add component here and I am going to select this BoxCollider. Come to the gizmo, right click and choose back view. I will press F to see only this hurdle. Right click on the gizmo and disable perspective. I will set this to 2 and I will move it by 1 and it is fitting correctly, and along the x-axis I will reduce the scale to around 0.5 so that it fits the complete axis. Now I will right click and come into the top view. Along the z-axis I will scale it by 3 or even 3.2. Add component, and I am going to add the component rigid body to it. I will apply the rigid body also. I want this BoxCollider and rigid body to be applied to my prefab, not to this one instance. So I will come into the inspector and in overrides I will click here and choose apply all. If I select the prefab and see it, okay, even here all these components are now applied. I will drag this MoveLeft and put it below this rigid body. I will go to file, save this. Now if I play and check it, as it moves, it is still moving away. We are not seeing that natural collision. So I will stop the playback. The reason for this is, if you come into the player and in inspector rigid body in our previous session, we had opened this constraint and we had freeze the position and rotation along the x-axis. I will unfreeze the x position, rotation and position. I will unfreeze it and keep it only in Z. Now I will go to file, save it, and now if I execute the game and test this, you can now see when he gets hit, you can see naturally he falls down. So you are having that natural collision. Our next mission is to make this obstacle keep on coming one after another. Just like we spanned animals in our previous session, we have to span this obstacle. Come into the hierarchy, right click, and we are first going to create an empty object and we are going to call this as SpawnManager. And then come into the script, right click, and in create I am going to create a new mono behavior script, and this also I am going to call this as SpawnManager. Allow the script to compile and see that the name of the file and the public class name is the same. Then I will drag this SpawnManager script and attach it to my SpawnManager GameObject. So you can see it has been added, and also I will come in the transform and I will reset it to 000. I am going to double click SpawnManager to open this script, and in this script I will come into this SpawnManager code block. After the open flower bracket I will press enter and I will add 2 forward slashes. After forward slash I will type create a variable to reference the prefab to be spanned. Now I will press enter. This is public and type of variable is it is a game object, and I am going to call this as obstacle prefab and end it with semicolon. Apart from the game object, I also need another variable to define the position from where this obstacle prefab will be instantiated or will be spanned. And I will press enter and I am going to now call private, and I am going to call vector 3 and I am going to call this span position, and I am going to set its value to new vector 3 and in open close bracket end it with semicolon. Along the x-axis, if you come into the Unity game and I will come into the scene view, right click and come into the free view, and I will enable perspective, and if I zoom out and show it to you, see this is on the right side by around 25. So I want the spanning to happen somewhere from a point of around 25. So I will come back here to the script and I am going to set the x value to 25, y will be 0, comma, and z will be 0. Above this second variable, I will add a comment, create a variable to hold the span position. So I have created this new span position and game object. I am going to test it by coming into start, and I will use the instantiate method, and in open close bracket I will close this. And for this instantiate object we have to give 3 parameters. First is which object you want to instantiate. It is this obstacle prefab. I will add a comma. The position from where it has to be spanned, I am going to set it to span position, end it with comma, and then the rotation. I will take this obstacle prefab, I will press period, call its transform rotation, and then I will come out of this bracket. Now I will go to file, save this, come back to Unity, and since we have enabled spanning, we no more need this obstacle in the scene. I am going to delete it, come into the SpawnManager, and I have to attach my prefab which has to be spanned. So I will come into the project my prefabs, drag this obstacle and attach it here. Now if I go to file, save it, and now if I execute the game and check it, see now the prefab is going to come and it is going to obstacle. So now I will stop the playback. But right now, the SpawnManager is spanning just one hurdle. We want this hurdle to be continuously spanned one after the another. I will come into the SpawnManager script, double click to open it. Instead of instantiating our prefab as soon as the game starts, I am going to come down after update, after the closing bracket of update code block, press twice, and now I am going to declare a new method. I will add 2 forward slashes, create a method to span obstacles. Now if I press enter, I am going to call this as void, and I will call this as SpawnObstacle, and I will end it with open close bracket. Then I will press enter and add open close flower bracket. Now I will click here and open it. For SpawnObstacle there are no parameters, but now I will copy this entire line which is there in start, cut it and put it in my new method to repeatedly make it run. I am going to come now into start, and now in start I am going to call another function, and for this function I need 2 variables. That is, we are using InvokeRepeating. Here I have to specify after how much time the spanning should start and what should be the gap between each spanning. So for that I will come to the top after line number 8, I will press enter, press 2 forward slashes, and I am going to create a variable to set the start delay time, and I am going to now set this public, and this is a float value, and I am going to call this a start delay, and I will set it to a value of 2f, and I will end it with semicolon. I will press enter, and next I will add a comment, create a variable to set the repeat rate. Press enter. I will call this public float and I am going to call this as repeat rate, and I will also set this to 2 seconds. Now coming into start, and I will first add a comment, repeat the span method at regular intervals. I will press enter, and for this I am going to call a method InvokeRepeating, open close bracket and end it with semicolon, and inside this the first thing I have to mention the function that I have to invoke repeatedly, and the function here is in open close inverted comma. I will come in and I am going to call this SpawnObstacle. Then I will add a comma. I will set the start delay time. I am using this variable, and then I will set the repeat rate. I am using this variable. Due to some reason here, the span position line has got deleted. So I will just come here and I will add this private vector 3. Due to some problem, it had got deleted. So now I will save it. Now come back to Unity, allow the script to compile. Now if I play the game and if I check it, you can now see every 2 seconds you have one span coming, then another one, then another one. So every 2 seconds it keeps coming. Obstacle is happening, but the background, it just moves once, and see after some time the background disappears. I want this background to be repeatedly running on the backdrop. We will make the background scroll in our next session. I will stop the playback.